A quick author's note. This is my first creepypasta. This is based on events that happened to me back when I was a kid, with some things embellished to add a little creepy into it. I hope you enjoy. With that being said, let's dive right into the creepypasta Family Night. When I was a kid, I used to spend a lot of my free time over at my aunt's house. It was a sort of a meeting spot for all of my cousins and siblings to meet, and we used to go over to her house since, well, she was a gamer, so to speak. We played a lot of video games like Mario Kart for the SNES, and that was a big hit with us. And we'd often do tournaments between all of us to see who would get the last slice of pizza, or to see who was simply better, the boys or the girls. It was all good fun, and I still cherish all the quality time we had playing such great games. When not a lot of us were hanging around over my aunt's house, we'd take turns playing Super Metroid or A Link to the Past. I swear, half the reason why I love video games as much as I do today is because of going over to her house and creating all of these cherished memories. However, one thing that was rather strange and utterly terrifying event happened to me while I was over there one day. It was a Saturday morning and I woke with utter glee, knowing that there was no school today and that I could go over to my aunt's house and play video games with all of my cousins. So I hopped on my bike and I rode as fast as I could go over and so I could play the SNES. Or maybe even the newly released N64. My face was full of excitement knowing that I had 2 fucking whole days to play video games with my family. I was, spending the night, so to speak. When I arrived, I was a bit displeased to see that a few cousins had already been playing the SNES. They were playing a new game that they had gotten at a local video rental shop called Family Feud. It was based, obviously, off of the cheesy game show of the same name that no one really watched anymore because, god damn it, it was terrible. However, watching the 2 different players bicker back and forth while they were playing the game got me all excited to play the game with them. It actually looked kind of fun, at least competitive in some sort of way. Eventually, the eldest cousin won the game, and looked for new challenges to test her Family Feud power. I stepped up to the plate, and I begun to play against her. To my surprise, I was utterly demolishing her, and I won the bragging rights for the day in, oh my god, fuck it, Family Feud. We soon were all tucked in and went to sleep for the night. I, being the last person to arrive, got the honors of sleeping on the living room floor, which was absolutely bloody terrible. With all the lights turned off and just the TV turned on, we all passed out relatively quickly. Except me. I, strangely enough, could barely sleep that night. I slept for 2 hours just to wake up to sleep for 2 more, and from what I understand, it happens to a lot of people sometimes, and I admit I was sleeping on a very uncomfortable hardwood floor. Why would they make me sleep on a hardwood floor? God damn it, that was terrible. However, at 4 in the morning, something strange happened to me with the TV and the SNES. I looked at the TV and saw that Family Feud had been turned on. Instead of playing the movie that we all enjoyed, all I could hear was a rather annoying 16-bit rendition of the Family Feud theme. However, a game had already been started. Figuring that one of my cousins was going through the same thing I was and simply fell asleep playing the game before I woke up, I leaned in to turn off the SNES. As I did, I took a glance over at the screen and saw the family currently playing, looking extremely tired and incredibly worn out. Some of them even had very angry and aggressive expressions on their faces. I looked closely as the 16-bit music became all jumbled up and polyharmonic. The faces didn't look hyper-realistic or anything like that, but they did look a little bit off or normal than the smiling faces that the family members usually had. I was about 6 years old at the time, and it didn't take much to scare me, and I simply sat there, frozen. I didn't dare turn off the SNES now because I feared what the game would do if I would turn it off. I I simply laid there, curled up under my blankets on the hardwood floor, and god damn it, fuck that floor, listening to what I interpreted as monstrous music with evil pixelated men and women staring at me under my sheets, waiting for me to come out so that they could further mess with my horrified childhood mind. So eventually I actually did end up sleeping, and when I woke up, my cousins were back to playing Mario Kart once again, and the Family Feud games was tossed aside, completely obscured since it was halfway under the couch. At least the couch that my cousin was sleeping on, the one that was off to the right and, no one really paid attention to. So no more Family Feud? Yeah, I don't play that game anymore, my cousin would say as I heard his voice cracking. Oh, too afraid I'll beat you again? I asked with, feigning confidence. But really, I was a tad relieved. Nope, just don't want to play it anymore. Okay? Why? Because I had a nightmare. Okay? I know it's kind of dumb, but I had nightmares about the people that were in that game and that they were staring out at me through the window. I never told her that I witnessed the same thing last night. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad I didn't. I pushed the events to the back of my mind, and I'm now finally typing them out. That's all that happened, even though I'm sure that it was just our childish imagination that caused it. But the odd thing is, I was awake when that happened to me. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and I'm your host, That Creepy Ring, with today's review. The story that I presented to you is simply known as Family Night. I don't know why they didn't call it like Family Feud or something involving the feud, but it simply proceeded as Family Night. The story itself is rather lackluster. The writing lacks any charming characteristics. I can't really fall in love with any of the characters. Really, it's a bunch of bland shit, and I ended up having to ad-lib a lot of my own stuff just to make it interesting for you guys to listen to. Hence all the reason why I was complaining about the floor sucking or complaining about games or anything like that. If you heard any extra reaction, that was entirely ad-libbed by me. The story also goes out of its way to admit that it's my first creepypasta, and I absolutely hate that, as all of you know. That is kind of annoying. It's just absolutely bloody terrible. I mean, like, quite literally, it's admitting, hey guys, this is a fictional story that sucks. Why don't you read it? I mean, I don't mind if it's your first creepypasta, but please don't write, this is my first creepypasta, in the actual story. That doesn't help you make a point. That really just makes the story look bad and sets people's expectations to below low. I really wish that there was much more I could say about it, but to be frank, it's really hard to come up with anything outstanding about the story. I also am starting to notice a trope with creepypastas where people are acknowledging the cliches that are within the stories and then acknowledge it within the story. That doesn't really make the cliche not existent or really make your story any better for acknowledging it. It's acknowledging that there are other stories with cliches in them, and you just create a new cliche by acknowledging it, and I'd rather people not do that anymore. Really, this is a haunted cartridge game that has absolutely nothing going for it. With at least with Sonic.exe, there are some things that the story has going for it, like characters. I mean, like, it's very cliche because other stories made it cliche, but in the end, there is still something or substance there, even if it's bad substance. This thing quite literally has almost nothing go for it. I would completely rewrite it. The grammar is also absolutely bloody terrible. If you take a look at this one line that I was actually pointing out to my friends while I was in a Skype call is, why don't I quickly come up here, because I actually had to edit this myself because it was just too hard to read without it. I mean, I had to edit it, or else the line wouldn't make any sense. And the line was, the faces didn't look hyper realistic or anything like that, but they did look off or normal, smiling face that the family members usually had. Instead of, they looked off from normal than the usual smiling faces that the family members had. The guy did some weird editing, and instead of putting like a actual proper punctuation mark by getting rid of the punctuation mark, instead of saying then or than, he put the comma there, which makes the entire line feel disjointed. That's why whenever you hear me reviewing other stories and I say the writing seems disjointed, that's what I mean by it. The punctuation's off, and by putting punctuations like that in the middle of the sentence, it makes it really hard to read. I don't know if this person really wanted his story narrated, and to be frank, I wouldn't blame him if he wouldn't want it narrated, but I will say, as a first attempt, it's better than what I usually see. And I wish you better luck on writing. Also, I'd work on your dialogue. I'd highly recommend making it kind of more like a script as opposed to how you have it now, because, I don't know, I mean, it seems that it's very formulaic, and instead of going like, I looked at my sister with a smiling face, then said blank, 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 it always says, yes, so no more Family Feud, I asked, sounding almost ecstatic, and then more dialogue. It fits that formula, but if you put it in the middle sentences or even change it around a bit, it makes it more interesting to read and allows me for more possibilities to present the story to a better audience, because they are able to keep more invested because the writing structure isn't bland. To the person who wrote this, I wish you good luck in your creepypasta writing career. However, the wiki doesn't seem to credit you anywhere, and I cannot find your name on any of this, so I hope this gets back to you. I will leave the link to the video in the comment section of the Creepypasta Wiki. Thanks for watching my review, I guess. God, my review is almost as long as the story. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, That Creepy Reading, and if you want to support me, go to Patreon. I actually have to replace a whole bunch of stuff due to a house fire. I won't get into any details, but if you're willing to help donate, really, it would help me out quite a bit as of this point in time. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is That Creepy Reading, and I'm signing off.